When was the last time you had a real meal?
Of favoring Asian workers over Latinos.
For 3 Hawaii women against national chain restaurant Panda Express.
The average American eats at Panda Express around 22 times a year. That's like inviting a Chinese takeout kitchen into your dining room twice a month, complete with those orange steam trays and promises of fresh, authentic Asian cuisine. But before you start craving that orange chicken that's become America's favorite Chinese dish, there's something you should probably hear. Remember when your health teacher said you are what you eat? If that's the case, then a lot of us are walking, talking sugar bombs covered in artificial orange sauce and mystery meat. Last week, I found a leftover Panda Express fortune cookie in my backpack from, wait for it, 5 weeks ago. The scary part? It looked exactly the same as the day I bought it. No staleness, no crumbling, no change at all. My homemade cookies start going stale after just 2 days in the open air. Real Chinese food has simple, fresh ingredients. Chicken, vegetables, rice, soy sauce, maybe some ginger and garlic if you're feeling traditional. But Panda Express's ingredient lists read more like a pharmaceutical manual than a recipe book. We're talking dozens of preservatives, artificial colors, and flavor enhancers that sound like they came out of a laboratory, not a wok.
What is that horrible smell?
You mean the Panda Express? Kidding.
Let's talk about that famous orange chicken that everyone seems to love. Panda Express guards their preparation methods like state secrets, but the list of actual ingredients used in their kitchens tells a different story. We're talking high fructose corn syrup, sodium benzoate, and artificial orange flavoring that has never seen an actual orange. The chicken itself arrives at restaurants pre-cut, pre-breaded, and frozen in massive bags. A former Panda Express cook told me that the chicken pieces sometimes felt more like spongy nuggets than actual meat. We'd dump these frozen chunks into the fryer, and they'd come out looking like chicken, but the texture was all wrong, too uniform, too bouncy. But what really gets me is how that orange chicken manages to taste exactly the same at every location. Every Panda Express, every state, the same sticky sweet coating, the same artificial orange color, the same chemical aftertaste that lingers for hours. It's like they cloned the perfect sugar bomb and mass-produced it in a factory. Real Chinese orange chicken doesn't work that way. If you made it at 10 different restaurants, each would have its own character. Some might be more tangy, others sweeter, some with bigger pieces of chicken. But Panda Express? It's like someone programmed a robot to make the most addictive version possible and then copied it 1,000 times. And let's not even get started on what they call fried rice. Multiple former employees have revealed that the rice sits in steam trays for hours, sometimes all day, getting reheated over and over until it reaches the texture of rubber pellets. One said the rice was so overcooked and dried out that they had to add extra oil just to make it look edible. The vegetables tell their own disturbing story. Those bright green broccoli pieces in your mixed vegetables? They're often frozen vegetables that have been sitting in warming trays so long they've lost any nutritional value they might have had. A health inspector once noted that the vegetables at one location looked more like colored mush than actual produce. But it's not just the preparation. Health inspection reports from multiple Panda Express locations show recurring issues, including improper food storage temperatures, cross-contamination between different dishes, and staff failing to follow basic food safety protocols. In one case, a California location was cited for keeping cooked chicken at unsafe temperatures for over 4 hours during dinner rush. That Beijing beef that looks so appealing under those heat lamps? Former workers described a process that's more like food assembly than cooking. Pre-cooked beef strips get tossed in a sauce that's made from a powder mix, then held under heat lamps until someone orders it. One employee said, "We weren't cooking. We were just reheating and mixing sauces from packets." Even the noodles aren't safe. Those lo mein noodles that should be fresh and springy? They arrive pre-cooked and frozen, then get reheated in the same steam trays as everything else. A customer once posted a photo of their lo mein that looked more like wet spaghetti than Chinese noodles. The texture was so mushy, it fell apart when they tried to pick it up with chopsticks. Here's the wild part. Some of their so-called healthier options are actually worse for you than the obviously indulgent dishes. Take their honey walnut shrimp. Sounds fancy, right? Shrimp with walnuts and a light honey glaze. But that dish packs over 400 calories per serving and contains more sugar than a can of soda. That's not dinner. That's dessert disguised as seafood. Their teriyaki chicken sounds like a reasonable choice. Grilled chicken with a traditional Japanese glaze. But Panda Express's version contains so much high fructose corn syrup and artificial flavoring that it tastes more like candy than anything that ever came from Japan. One serving has more sugar than 3 chocolate chip cookies. A friend of mine tried switching to their Walk Smart options, thinking they'd be healthier. These are supposed to be dishes with vegetables and lean proteins, designed for health-conscious customers. What she got was mushy vegetables swimming in sodium-loaded sauces that made her feel bloated and thirsty for hours afterward. Speaking of sodium, one serving of their Kung Pao chicken contains more salt than you should consume in an entire day. That's Kung Pao chicken, a dish that should be spicy and flavorful, not a sodium bomb that makes your blood pressure monitor file a complaint. And then there's the infamous chow mein. Remember that thing? Noodles stir-fried with vegetables and maybe some protein. Sounds simple enough. But Panda Express's version is so loaded with oil and preservatives that it leaves a greasy film in your mouth for hours. One customer said it tasted like someone deep-fried spaghetti and called it Chinese food. But what really surprised me was the rice situation. You'd think rice would be the safest thing on the menu. It's rice. How bad could it be? Pretty bad, apparently. Their fried rice contains artificial coloring to make it look more appetizing, and enough sodium to make you wonder if they're trying to preserve it for the next ice age. The white steamed rice, which should be the simplest item on the entire menu, often sits in those steam trays for so long, it develops a crusty layer on top. Employees are trained to stir it occasionally to hide the dried out parts, but customers still end up with rice that has the texture of tiny rubber balls. The sugar isn't just in the obviously sweet dishes either. Their supposedly savory items are loaded with hidden sugars. The mushroom chicken contains high fructose corn syrup. The broccoli beef has more sugar per serving than a candy bar. Even their hot and sour soup, which should be tangy and spicy, tastes more like sweet and sour soup because of all the added sweeteners. The psychology behind it all is almost impressive. Panda Express wants to convince you that you're getting authentic Chinese cuisine, made fresh in traditional woks by skilled chefs. But what you're actually getting is a fast food version of Chinese American dishes that have been re-engineered, pre-processed, and sugar-loaded until they barely resemble anything that ever came from China. My friend who lived in Beijing for 2 years once said, "Panda Express is to Chinese food what a fortune cookie is to actual Chinese culture, completely made up for American consumption." And let's talk about their family meals, a family feast that used to sound like a celebration, sharing different dishes, trying new flavors, experiencing culture through food. Now it sounds like a sugar coma waiting to happen. One family meal contains enough sodium to pickle a small village. Add in the fried rice and chow mein, and you're looking at more calories than most families should consume in 2 days. But the marketing says family dinner, cultural experience, authentic flavors. And sure, everyone's sharing. Sharing diabetes risk and sodium poisoning. A friend of mine tried feeding his family only Panda Express for a week just to see what would happen. He figured it was convenient, the kids liked the orange chicken, and it was cheaper than cooking. By day 4, his kids were complaining of stomach aches. That's when you know something's wrong. His youngest said, "Dad, this food makes me feel sick." Out of the mouths of babes. His grocery bill went down, but the cost of antacids, extra water to combat all that sodium, and general family misery went way up. By the end of the week, he'd spent more money than usual and felt like his entire family had been poisoned by artificial orange flavoring. But here's the part that really makes you pause. The oil quality. Panda Express claims they use premium oils for that perfect stir-fry taste. But former employees and health inspectors have told a different story. Some locations reportedly use oil and reused for days, getting darker and more rancid with each batch of orange chicken. One employee said, "The oil in the fryers would get so dark it looked like motor oil, but as long as the food came out golden, nobody cared." That's not stir-frying. That's just hoping the sugar in the sauce covers up whatever's happening in that oil. One of the scariest things is how little the average customer knows about what goes into those glossy, colorful dishes. Most people assume it's just meat and vegetables with some Asian-inspired sauces. But when you actually look at the ingredient lists, it gets weird fast. Sodium aluminum phosphate, calcium silicate, artificial colors red 40 and yellow 6. Words that sound more like a paint formula than a dinner recipe. Let's talk about the meat itself. The animals that become your orange chicken and Beijing beef. Panda Express sources from massive industrial operations where chickens and cattle are raised in conditions that prioritize speed and cost over quality. These aren't the happy, free-range animals from the commercials. These are factory-farmed animals pumped full of antibiotics and growth hormones. The meat is processed in facilities that move so fast that proper quality control becomes impossible. A former worker at a processing plant that supplied Panda Express said the line moved so quickly that meat with bruises, discoloration, or other issues would just get mixed in with the rest. The attitude was, "The sauce will cover it up," he said. And then there's the sauce situation. Those glossy, colorful sauces that make everything look so appetizing? They're not made fresh in each restaurant. They arrive as concentrated syrups and powders that get mixed with water and artificial thickeners. The orange chicken sauce contains more high fructose corn syrup than actual fruit juice. Their promotional items are another level of cynical marketing. Every few months, Panda Express rolls out some new limited-time dish. Firecracker chicken, honey sesame chicken breast, wok-fired shrimp. These aren't culinary innovations. They're the same basic ingredients rearranged and given new names to create social media buzz. People line up, take photos of their colorful plates, post them online like they just discovered authentic Chinese cuisine. But when the novelty wears off, they're left with the same processed, sugar-loaded food that's been engineered for maximum addiction rather than nutrition or authenticity. Now let's talk about the beverages. You walk in thinking you'll get a reasonable meal and maybe some tea. But those drinks are never reasonable. Panda Express's idea of a small drink is what used to be a large in the 1990s. One medium Sprite can contain over 40 grams of sugar. That's like drinking a candy bar and then wondering why you crash an hour later. They push meal upgrades constantly. Would you like to make that a bigger plate? For just $2 more, you can add another entree. It's not just upselling, it's portion distortion disguised as value. You came in for lunch and somehow walked out with enough food for 3 people. And if you think you can make healthier choices by sticking to their Walk Smart menu, think again. These supposedly lighter options are still loaded with sodium, sugar, and artificial ingredients. The string bean chicken breast, which sounds like the healthiest thing on the menu, contains more sodium than a large order of McDonald's fries. Let's not forget about the fortune cookies. Those little treats that are supposed to add a touch of authentic Chinese culture to your meal? They're mass-produced in factories, loaded with preservatives, and have about as much connection to actual Chinese culture as a taco has to Italian cuisine. Real Chinese restaurants don't even serve fortune cookies. They're an American invention. And then there's the cleanliness issue. Multiple health inspections across different states have revealed recurring problems. Steam trays not maintained at proper temperatures, utensils not properly sanitized between uses, and employees not following basic hygiene protocols. One viral video from a former employee showed the inside of a steam tray that hadn't been properly cleaned in days. The buildup of dried sauce and food particles looked like something from a horror movie. The employee's caption, "This is where your orange chicken comes from." The worst part might be how normal all of this has become. We expect Chinese American food to be overly sweet. We expect to feel sluggish and thirsty afterward. We expect it to be loaded with artificial ingredients and preservatives, but we eat it anyway because it's convenient, familiar, and hits all the right addiction buttons in our brains. Except it's not really convenient when you factor in the long-term costs. The blood sugar spikes. The sodium-induced bloating. The artificial ingredient overload that leaves your liver working overtime. That orange chicken might cost $8 today, but what about the hidden health costs 10 years from now? A friend of mine decided to give up Panda Express for a full month just to see what would happen. She wasn't trying to make a political statement or start a health revolution. She just got tired of feeling like a walking sugar crash every time she ate there. The first few days were brutal. Her cravings kicked in hard. Every mall food court, every strip mall with that familiar red and gold sign felt like a siren song. Her brain kept telling her she needed that orange chicken fix, that sweet and sticky comfort that had become her go-to stress food. By the end of the first week, something surprising started to happen. She stopped feeling like she was on a blood sugar roller coaster all day. Her energy levels became more consistent instead of spiking after meals and then crashing an hour later. That constant thirst she'd been carrying around? Gone. The biggest change, though, was mental. She realized how much of her eating had become automatic. She wasn't hungry when she pulled into that parking lot. She was stressed or bored, or just driving by and thinking, why not grab some orange chicken? That why not had been costing her $120 a month and making her feel worse with every bite. When the month ended, she thought she might go back. Just one plate for old time's sake? She walked into the restaurant, stood in line, and smelled that familiar combination of artificial orange flavoring and reheated oil. And something strange happened. It didn't smell like food anymore. It smelled like chemicals and sugar and regret. She ordered anyway, thinking maybe it would taste better than it smelled. One bite of that orange chicken she used to crave, and she couldn't finish it. It was like eating candy-coated rubber, she said. I couldn't believe I used to think this was food. That's the power of resetting your palate. When you're not constantly bombarded with artificial flavors and excessive sugar, real food starts tasting like food again. And processed food starts tasting like what it actually is, a product designed to trigger cravings rather than provide nourishment. We're not saying you should never eat at Panda Express again. This isn't about shame or judgment. This is about awareness, about understanding what you're putting into your body, about knowing that those colorful steam trays and promises of authentic Asian cuisine don't mean the food is made with care, tradition, or even basic quality ingredients. It means someone figured out how to sell you comfort food in a takeout container with an Asian-inspired marketing campaign. One nutritionist I spoke to put it perfectly. She said, fast casual restaurants like Panda Express don't just feed your hunger. They feed your sugar addiction. They reward your brain with the exact combination of sweet, salty, and artificial flavors that make you want more. That's not cooking. That's food engineering. They're not trying to nourish you or introduce you to authentic Chinese culture. They're trying to create customers for life. Every sticky sweet bite, every artificially colored vegetable, every MSG-loaded sauce, it's all designed to make your brain light up like a casino slot machine and keep you coming back for more. Even their marketing plays into it. The original orange chicken. Fresh wok cooking. It's not about the quality of the food or cultural authenticity. It's about creating brand loyalty to a product that's been engineered to be as addictive as possible. But here's a fun challenge. Try making your own orange chicken at home. Real chicken breast, real orange juice, real soy sauce and ginger. It will take longer. It will require actual cooking skills, but it will taste like food again. Not a sugar bomb, not a chemistry experiment. Food that was made with intention, not engineered in a laboratory to trigger maximum cravings. Or go even simpler. Find a local Chinese restaurant run by actual Chinese families who take pride in their cooking, not their marketing budget. Support places that make their sauces from scratch, that stir-fry vegetables to order, that use real ingredients instead of powder mixes and artificial flavorings. Because when you strip away the colorful steam trays and the mall food court convenience, food should be something that nourishes your body, not hijacks your brain chemistry. Something that gives you sustained energy, not sugar crashes and sodium bloating. Panda Express will always have a place in American culture. For some, it's tied to memories, quick lunches between classes. That one time your mom picked up dinner when she was too tired to cook. And that's fine. But memories don't have to dictate your daily eating habits. You can remember something fondly without needing to poison yourself with artificial orange flavoring and high fructose corn syrup twice a week. You can appreciate the convenience without sacrificing your health to a corporation that profits from your sugar addiction. So the next time you're walking through a mall food court and see those familiar orange steam trays, ask yourself one simple question. Is this what I really want? Or is this just what I've been programmed to crave? Because there's a big difference between hunger and habit. One feeds your body, the other feeds a billion-dollar industry that counts on you not reading ingredient labels or asking questions about what's really in that glossy orange sauce. If you made it this far, congratulations. You're already more informed than most people standing in that line with their plastic trays. What you do with that information is up to you. But whatever choice you make, let it be a conscious choice, not an autopilot decision, not a sugar craving disguised as cultural exploration. Because when it comes to what you eat, you deserve better than reheated frozen chicken drowning in artificial orange syrup and a fortune cookie made in a factory in Queens. You deserve food that's made with care, not just engineered for maximum profit and mall food court efficiency. And if you still crave that sweet and sticky Chinese-American experience, maybe it's time to discover what real Chinese food actually tastes like. Your taste buds, your ingredients, your health. You might not have those colorful steam trays and plastic serving spoons, but at least you'll know what you're eating. And that's worth more than any orange chicken combo meal ever offered. The choice is yours. But now, at least, it's an informed choice. Because the truth isn't always served with a side of fried rice and a fortune cookie, but it's always worth knowing. Your body will thank you for not falling for the artificial orange illusion. And your wallet might thank you too, once you realize how much you've been spending on sugar-coated regret disguised as authentic Asian cuisine.